Hello all, and welcome to my first D&D talk. With this one, I want to talk to the entirety of the D&D audience out there about one major thing that gets overlooked in a lot of campaigns. And that's not mechanics, it's not role play, it's table etiquette. Now, whether you're playing on an online tabletop simulator like I am on Roll20, or you're playing at your friend's house or at Adventurers League, there's a few things that, as both the DM and the player, you should know. Now, first things first, let's talk to the players. So, as a player, you have less responsibility than the DM, for sure. However, you still have a few major parts to play. First of all, you're the lead characters in the story. This is an equivalent to an episode of Friends where you barely see any of the main characters, or a Jurassic Park movie without dinosaurs. The story doesn't happen. Without you and without those characters, there is no story and there is no substance. So it is absolutely paramount that you are in the moment. And I'm not saying don't have your snacks, don't have your in jokes and all that, but if the DM is sitting there describing a room to you or describing a dungeon as you walk in, don't be on your phone waiting for your initiative turn. Be in the moment. Be ready. Be asking questions. How large is the room? Uh, are there torches on the wall? Get information. And not only does it show the DM that you're paying attention and lets you picture the room better, but if a fight were to break out and you see that there's torches on the wall and your friend casts grease, you could take one of those torches and light the floor on fire. And you wouldn't have known that had you not been paying attention. Now, another big point for the players I want to say is always be prepared for your character to die. Now, I know that this is kind of taboo in some groups. Letting PCs die is very taboo. Sometimes you just go in prison, or you're in a coma, or you're unconscious, or you just get lost in the woods, or whatever. But especially if you have a DM who's experienced in this legacy players, like someone who played first edition or so on, be prepared for death. I told my players right out the gate, I said, I want you guys to know that death is a very real chance. So when I told them be prepared for your character to die, they began making other character ideas. And not only does that make it easier once one of them dies, we don't have to pause and roll them up character to put them back in. They have that on standby. It also gives you more to work with as a dungeon master. It shows you, hey, these guys, not only are these people interested, but they want to know what is going on in your world, in your universe. So again, as the players, another really major thing, and it may not, and going back to the respect thing, is give your DM some overall respect. Not only are you the main piece to their story, but they're letting you into their imagination. And as someone who's done a lot of writing and is a DM himself, that's a great deal of vulnerability. That's a great deal of trust. So make sure you earn that. You earn that vulnerability and that trust. Okay, enough railing on the players. DMs, it's your turn. So, overall, as a dungeon master, you have three main rules as the dungeon master's guide reveals. You are the master of rules, so your saying on rules are final, whether they line up with the player's handbook or the DMG or the monster manual or not. Your statement is final. You are the master of adventures. You are the one that dictates the plot of the campaign. You're the one who says this is what's happening in the world, and this is where you guys fit into it. And then finally, you're the master of worlds. You create a universe. You create a picture. You create a world. You create a country, an island, a city, or whatever for your players to go into. Like I said earlier to the players, you scoop them up and you give them your imagination. You give them your creativity and say, have fun. Now, DMs, a couple major things I want to tell you. One, don't be angry when the plot doesn't go the way you want. If anything, player-driven plot ideas are sometimes even better than what you originally thought of. For instance, my very first session DMing, I had my players did the typical, my blacksmith's daughter's been kidnapped by goblins. And in the process, they found a random body being looted by bandits. They killed the bandits and checked if the body was alive. I hadn't even thought that they would check that body. I thought they would see the body, see it was someone important, and leave. But they checked it was alive, and they resuscitated the person, and completely drew the plot away from what it could have been. And it drove them away from the plot, and thus changed the outcome of the dungeon that I would have had set up where they saved the blacksmith's daughter. Now, in a perfect universe, we would, in our minds, have this amazing vision for how the campaign would go, how it would go session to session, and it would work just like that. The players would be on the same wavelength as us, we'd be popping out session after session, no problem. That doesn't happen. Your players derail things. Your players don't know what you're thinking. It's not like being in a relationship, I hate to say it. You can't read the person's mind. You have to go off of signals. And another thing for you as DMs. Do not hesitate to let the dice do their job. The job of the dice is to create the probability that exists in the real world. That what sell this story is real. And without them, there's no point in playing. At that point, it's just writing a book. Now, when I say this, I know this is a very common thing, is fudging die rolls. Fudging die rolls is a very common thing that they say, oh yeah, I do this and I do that. That's why you have a DM screen, right? To fudge the die rolls. Well, here's the thing. The players can sense when they're being robbed of an experience. If you can have this nail-biting moment where the players have to fend off the dragon while saving their friend, if you just choose to not let that player character go down in the first place by changing that 17 to, let's say, a 15, you rob them of that experience. And you robbed your players of a possibly memorable moment. There's one moment in my campaign that my players will never forget, and that was almost losing their most beloved PC in combat to a dragon. Now, I thought for a split second, I probably could change this die roll to where he doesn't get hurt, or to where he gets minimally hurt and he survives. But I decided against it because A, I just warned the players regarding lethality, as I talked about to the DMs, and I just told them, hey, this is an adult dragon. This thing is fierce. Just so you're aware. Now, I allowed the dice to do their job. The dice chose that player character was to go unconscious. Now, the party did do exactly that. They fended off the dragon. Their fighter killed him with one quick stab at a short sword, and the cleric raised him from the dead at the last moment. And that was one of the most memorable moments to them of the campaign, as of now. And that's a beautiful moment, because you did your job as a DM. The cleric got the moment to save the barbarian. The barbarian got to see how happy everyone was that he was okay. The fighter got his moment of glory. Everyone had that moment. Now, DMs, one last thing to you guys. I understand when you have a plot idea and you want to shove the players in that direction. Let them roam a little bit. They might uncover things that, yeah, you don't want them to know yet, but do they know what this symbol on the wall means? Do they know, as players, that this person is secretly a god masquerading as a human to monitor their progress? No, They don't know that. The players do not know what you know. Bear in mind, writing a D&D campaign is the best way I can describe it, is writing a book or a play or whatever, and just having a skeleton and then handing, let's say, 5 pages each to your players and saying, finish this. You are going to get a completely different story than what you originally thought. Now, I know I keep hammering on this, and I'm so sorry, DMs, that I'm making this sound like a big problem. Don't railroad your players. If anything, err on the side of a sandbox environment. Let them find the plot. Let their characters' morals and their goals and their flaws and their bonds, which are the 4 main pillars of a player character's personality if you look on your character sheets, those of you who are new. And let those dictate what decisions they make. If the players decide, instead of saving the blacksmith's daughter, they want to go help the noble of a peace treaty because they know they'll get paid more, that's completely okay. Because that's what the player characters would do. That's the way the story would go. Had this happened in real life. If they saw that this paid more, and that was their primary goal, was money, then that's where they would go. Well, that's all I have for you regarding DM and player etiquette. I want to thank you all for coming. This was my first longer video. This is actually the longest video I made on this channel. I will be doing a lot more D&D talks like this. If you guys have any particular topics you want me to cover, different types of monsters you want me to discuss, or maybe even reviewing some modules and stat books, I will be more than happy to do that. Go ahead and leave your requests down below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.